Hi, welcome to Saki Films. Today we're going to be looking at all the gear I got in 2024, and there is a lot. This is now my second year fully shooting film as my primary photography, and so I really invested a lot in gear and experimenting and trying out new things. First up is a Nikon F2. My wife and I drove about 3 hours to Elko, Nevada to pick this up for $100, which was a great deal on a F2. And I shot a test roll through it, and that was it. I like it. It's fine. The light meter's broken, which is partly why I don't. I'm not great with Sunny 16, and I don't want a meter for every single shot. But I haven't bothered to go get it repaired or buy a new meter prism, just because I have other Nikon cameras that I like just as much, or maybe even a little more, and so there's not been a great desire to put more into this one. Next up is a Nikon F3. I immediately upgraded my F2. This one we got just outside our new home here in Pittsburgh, about an hour away for $200 for the camera with a lens and a motor drive that doesn't work. But yeah, I really like this camera. It's a little annoying that it only shoots manually at 1/60th for shutter speed, but other than that, I really love it. I find it so easy to use. It takes great pictures. Having an automatically indexing piece of glass, but also being able to go back and put some of my older lenses on here is a really great feature. The only reason this isn't like my go-to camera is the only AI lens I have is this 35mm, and I usually shoot 50, so that's probably my next pickup for this camera. And next is a Nikkormat EL. This was free because it was my grandfather's camera. I'd been shooting with his lenses for years, including dropping the 500mm off a cliff in Utah, which was super sad. It's even got one of his old 35mm lenses on here that I've shot with for many, many years. Everything seems to be working. I haven't put a roll through it yet, but the light meter works and is accurate, and it seems to be firing at correct speeds. The only reason I haven't used it is I already have other Nikons that work. So there's not really a great need to bring this one out. But I think next time I head back to where he lived in Rhode Island, I'll be bringing this with me and get some photos of family and friends in that area. All right, that's it for Nikons. So this is a Canon AE1 program. This is another one I got for free. It was a great uncle's, and I got it from my great aunt when she was cleaning out some of his stuff in the attic, I think it was. And the 50mm lens came with it. It seems to not be working at all with a battery in it. And so I just haven't bothered to look into, is it just a little bit of corroding or something, or is it a bigger issue? This one's more just here out of sentimental value. Next up is my first medium format camera. I went with the RB67 Pro S. I went with this version because it's fully mechanical, which really appealed to me. The guy who was selling it gave me two backs. One does have light leaks and two lenses with the setup, waist level viewfinder, and I was really itching to try out medium format, and so I wanted to go with this system, just because I feel like it'll have the most longevity of what I could tell. And so far it has been amazing. I love all the pictures I take with it, and I can't wait to keep using it. And finally, for cameras on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I got the Pentax 17 half frame. My wife got me this for my birthday, and it's a super fun travel camera. I have over here my first ever film camera. Was just a Kodak H35, the Ektar half frame. This was just, I got it because it looked like fun. We'd bring it on trips, and it got me into film photography, so having an upgraded version of that is awesome. The glass lens takes really sharp pictures for half frame, especially. The fact that it will actually expose for the images, unlike the Ektar, changing shutter speed, aperture a little bit, is great. I don't love that it's zone focus, but you know, everyone says this camera is really expensive, and it's certainly not cheap. But to get a newly made with a warranty camera in 2024 is actually really awesome, and it gives me the confidence to bring this on trips, travel with it, go crazy, and just, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, hold on, everybody. Hold together. 10 seconds.
All right, on to lenses. Mostly I just got lenses that were on cameras already. I got the 90 and 180 for my Mamiya. I got a 35mm with my Nikon F3. I got a 50mm on the Canon. I got a 43 to 86 on the F2. And so, yeah, not a ton outside of ones that came on cameras, but I did pick up 2 this year. I did get this Nikon 200mm f4. When I shoot digitally, I'm almost always on a long focal length like this. I don't know why, it's just the way I go. But when I shoot on film, I don't like it. I almost never grab this lens out of my kit. I've mostly used it adapted onto my Sony. But for whatever reason, yeah, it just doesn't speak to me despite taking really great pictures. I actually did use it just yesterday, but that was for a very specific reason. But other than that, I almost never grab this. All right, and then finally I got this micro Nikkor 55mm macro lens, f3.5. And the main reason I got this was DSLR scanning. I've used it once or twice just for fun on some other things, but I don't ever really shoot macro photography. This is just for scanning my negatives. And speaking of scanning, this is my DSLR setup that I got. It's just a copy stand, literally drilled into a piece of plywood that I got off someone, I think on Etsy. And I'm really disappointed with it, you know, for what I paid, which wasn't hugely expensive, but I could have either made this myself or just bought a nicer one for a similar price for an extra like $10 to get just a higher quality build. It also came with a 3D printed film feeder that just scratched the film, was really low quality, and a light that is fine, but needed to be plugged in at all times to work. Which is really annoying because I'm constantly moving setups and not always near an outlet in our new house. And so, yeah, it was just not working. So I upgraded. Now I use the Lomography Digitaliza Plus, and I use it with that same copy stand because it's what I have. What I really like about this one is it has levels to tell me if I'm straight. It's got a nice roller to just feed the film through, which is really convenient. It never scratches my film. It's a battery operated light, so I can just turn it on and off like that. And the other big thing this does that the other one didn't is allow me to scan medium format. When I first got that, I was just shooting 35mm. I hadn't bought the Mamiya yet. But as soon as I did, and I wasn't happy with that setup anyway, I figured let's just upgrade the whole thing and be able to do medium format as well. And finally, I got conversion software called Smart Convert so that once I scan the negatives, I can flip them and make them positives. Smart Convert is fine. It's very simple, it's very basic. It does exactly what I need it to do without much creative control, which is a little bit of a bummer. It's definitely an area I'm going to upgrade in the future, but as you can tell, I spent a lot on film this last year, and so I probably need to cool it for a minute. But yeah, I finally shot some slide film, which I edited in my usual Lightroom setup, and I think having Negative Lab Pro and working through that workflow will just produce better images and give me greater control. Whereas right now I'm often just flipping the image, I can make some minor tweaks, and then I'm kind of stuck with what I got. But unlike Negative Lab Pro, this is lifetime updates for $100, whereas that one they only update through your version, and then when they release a new version, you have to rebuy the software. I don't know how often the creator releases new versions, so it might just be worth it. The next time they release a version, I'll just buy it right then and there and stick with it. All right, thanks for watching. As you can tell, I have some bad gear acquisition syndrome and definitely need to slow down. But I'm really happy with most of these purchases, and some of them are more just sentimental things that I've acquired over the year. The area I really want to upgrade is my DSLR scanning, but other than that, I'm really happy now. I feel like I've got my go-to cameras, my go-to lenses. I'm not often sitting there going, oh, I wish I had this, whereas I was for this last year. So I really think overall it's a worthwhile investment, and it's a hobby that I really love to do. And everything being vintage, like a lot of these lenses, I was able to pick up for 50 bucks or less. The cameras, you know, a couple $100 here and there. So across the course of the year, it really wasn't as expensive as if I had stayed with my digital photography. If you enjoyed this video and you liked the cameras and lenses, please like and subscribe. And I'll be back in about 2 weeks to talk about some slide film I shot for the very first time and my experience with that. Be safe.